Like every year, training camp is more about media headlines and narratives to create storylines that will keep readers and viewers attentive throughout the training camp. There's nothing better than having several developing stories going on that are often at a level of gossip and are not relying on tangible facts or anything that's really referenceable. These topics can be overblown because you can use hyperbole to describe feelings, relationships, chemistry, etc. Or there's an overemphasis on a stat line that is essentially impractical to reference in a training camp environment, where it's really out of context, yet it is still something a reader or viewer holds value in. On the other hand, you do get those camp stories that are justifiable and can be a reference point for when a star emerged and ultimately became a Patriot legend. Going into camp, the Patriots had a bunch of stories, including how coaches and players are trying to get away from that 2022 campaign. You got the classic rookie conversation, free agents coming in, injured athletes, holdouts, trade talks, fights, number of snaps, who's going with what line, who's going with the ones, who's going with the twos, etc. I wanted to address some of these hot topics and categorize them into things being overblown, overlooked, appropriate, or underserved. Part 1 is going to be an overblown topic. Players missing practice, or in some cases just being restricted. This is a classic storyline to grab onto and run with. It makes great content because you get that detective side of things. Oh, is he mad? Does he want a new contract? Is he holding out? Is he injured? Etc. Yeah, sometimes that is the deal, and that is why you need to address those topics because, well, you need to report that people are missing and where they are. And of course, the worst case scenario is possible. However, we need to calm down about what it means if certain players are sitting out or have been relegated. Yeah, Judon was probably doing a hold-in move here to update his contract. But I wouldn't be surprised if the coaching staff wasn't really stressed about it because it should help with thwarting him burning out. Stevenson got burnt out last year and the offense went with him. Trent Brown was clearly not in shape for minicamp, but he appears to be in better shape now. However, he might need some more time to build up, which is smart because he might have had to put himself through hell just to pass the physicals and conditioning tests. Losing a solid amount of weight and grinding hard for a few weeks is stressful on the body, creating a serious amount of free radicals, and it messes with the adrenal glands. His physical might have shown that his resting heart rate is elevated, indicating his body's in a state of overtraining. Typically, resting heart rate is lower for more conditioned people. However, it is likely to rise when an athlete is overtraining. Overtraining can also cause a rise in resting blood pressure. It also impacts your recovery heart rate, which is your heart rate immediately after exercise, and it shows how long it takes for an exercise elevated heart rate to return to normal resting levels. All these things can be easily tracked. Maybe his catapult vest, which is those black vests that you see players have under their shoulder pads. They use that to monitor athletes' impact on the field and their efforts. That might have raised a red flag considering his physical condition and age. Maybe his last minute prep already generated a soft tissue injury. He could have pushed it a little bit too far and is dealing with oxidative stress from training after coming in a bit soft in minicamp. Intense training can also impact athletes' cellular health and function. In fact, excessive training and practice can actually cause cellular damage. This seems counterintuitive since conventional wisdom states that training and practice is good for athletes. But it's true. Training and practice naturally increases the production of free radicals, which are a natural byproduct of consuming oxygen during exercise, or just really any activity, to break down ATP for energy. Free radicals are molecules that have an unpaired electron in the outer shell. The absent electron in these molecules causes them to be unstable and highly reactive. To regain stability, the free radical molecules steal electrons from healthy cells in the athlete's body. When this happens, the free radical leaves the healthy cell damaged and is often unable to perform its usual functions. This free radical damage doesn't stop with a singular cell. Once one free radical attack occurs, it sets off a domino effect, and the newly damaged cell moves on to another healthy cell as they attempt to become neutral again, so on and so forth. A chain reaction essentially can trigger thousands of damaged cells just from one bout of intense training and practice. Excessive free radical damage has been concomitant with overtraining condition and a sharp decrease in performance. It also has a dramatic impact on injury rate, the severity of the injury, and the recovery time from the injury. Long term, you can actually be looking at other damaging effects like accelerated aging, some cancer, diabetes, even coronary artery disease. Typically, this occurs in athletes that are really pushing the limits day in and day out, like Olympic athletes and some of those ultra marathon runners. However, it can be an issue for managing professional athletes who are at risk for being overworked and dealing with a lot of different types of stresses. Football might not have as brutal of physical training as elite marathon runners, but all those impacts and collisions create damage, thus creating free radicals and oxidative stress. Then taking into account the guys working hard to get into shape and they're dropping some weight, it's really hot out, all that adds up to create oxidative stress and free radicals. Another concern is restricted diet, which causes what is known as substrate depletion, which is essentially running out of material to turn into energy. Again, cause a lot of oxidative stress. What is more, there's exercise-induced hyperthermia, which is overheating, which creates a crazy amount of oxidative stress. Even if you're an elite athlete, your body has to deal with the damage and the results of working hard. Nothing is free. Thankfully, our bodies have the capacity to fight free radical attacks by forging 3 natural antioxidants known as glutathione, catalase, and superoxide dismutase, which help by donating extra electrons to the free radicals, thus stopping them from damaging healthy cells to get that needed electron. It is also important to note that some of these exercise-induced oxidative stress is good, because it is also what conditions the athlete's body to adapt to stressful situations. So it's also necessary, but an unavoidable situation. Therefore, coaching and sport med staffs need to monitor athletes and really manage the ones who are at the highest risk of handling stress and damage. In addition, diet and supplementation can really help by supplying antioxidants. We used to advise athletes to use tart cherry supplements, or even grab the juice at the store. Our boy TB12 is a big supporter of tart cherry and reducing free radicals. I'm just saying. You can go pretty far with the whole monitoring levels and managing athletes. I mean, I've been in some systems where they had special cups placed in the urinals to monitor hydration levels. Another athlete to keep an eye on is Ramondre. He's getting hit, and he was a center point of the offense that wore him down last year. We can't have that happen again. Judon has burnt out the past 2 seasons. Even though he did get a bump in pay, he still looks to be under some sort of load management protocol. It is clear that we need to manage these guys, and athlete management is not new to the league. But it appears some of the media could be overlooking this as a reason why certain players are missing or are on the rehab field. Or they're using it to drum up some sort of speculation to lead to another hotter headline. Now, what would be the answer to handling these athletes? A simple way we used to manage athletes that were at risk for overtraining or burning out was a 10% rule. You simply add 10% each week of training volume, snaps, time, tonnage, impacts, whatever metric you are concerned about. 10% increases week over week. Very simple. Using the data from the catapult system to monitor impacts, G-forces, etc. You do regular monitoring of heart rate and blood pressure before, during, and after practice and while sleeping. As I mentioned, diet and supplementation can really help. The other easy things you can do is simply pulling the athlete out to do some different work to provide variation and just to keep things fresh. Another good thing to do is employ a hard cap on the total amount of training time and practice for the week, like 30 hours for some elite athletes. This includes practice, strength training, conditioning, speed work, etc. Essentially, it is the total amount of time with an elevated heart rate or exertion. The other thing you can do is prioritize everything. What do I mean by that? only be involved in the vital aspects of practice and training. For example, in the weight room, you're only going to do cleans, snatches, squats, deads, bench, speed work. You're just doing some footwork, agility, acceleration, explosion, done, see ya, that's it. Once the athlete can easily recover from those efforts day after day, that is when you start to reintroduce the auxiliary work and drills. Those are some of the basic guidelines or protocols to help prevent overtraining and athletes going stale. The Patriots are probably following an athlete management system here with some of those guys who were burned out last year. Smart. It is not the old days where if you can just stand and move around, you're out in the field in preseason. So if an athlete is not on the practice field and is down on the rehab field, it doesn't always mean they're terribly injured or they're being relegated or they're holding in. I mean, it could be some of that, but we need to understand that the modern NFL follows the metrics, and the need for athlete management is pinnacle to having a team ready to go on week 1, and that same team is still operable going into the playoffs. Maybe the Patriots are really starting to employ some of these approaches. So, what do you guys think about some of these guys who are missing or being limited at practice? Is it something really to worry about? Is it more than just managing athletes? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.